And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final packet and part of the notes that we will be dealing with here in Algebra 1. So let's fire up your last packet here with, we're in the notes, not the packet yet, still notes. Still extra copies in the back table if you need them. So we're going to solve quadratic equations by the quadratic formula. So interesting that the puzzle that we did last time we were together before the preview, of course, the answer was, what do babies drink? They drink quadratic formula. Baby parabolas drink quadratic formula. And now we have this equation here. You're like, oh, crud, that's a lot of stuff going on. Nothing bad, though. We're just substituting numbers into an equation and doing some simplifying. All we got to keep track of is, where's A in front of x squared? Where's B in front of x? And where's C, the number hanging out on the end by itself, called the constant? So, few hints. Make sure the equation is set equal to 0. If it's not, we're going to have to fix that. We'll see an example of that here shortly. Plug A, B, and C in, calculate the square root, set up two equations, and understand that you could have decimal answers. So, first things first, you know how much I love to deal with colors and things when I do this. So, we've got A, we've got B, and we have C. Now again, make sure it's equal to 0 before you label anything, because otherwise you may have to move some stuff around and that could change the values. But once I get there, now it's just plug it on in. So the opposite of B, the opposite of positive 12 is negative. It's minus B squared. Hardy, do I need the parentheses? Even got them in the formula. So the answer is yes. It can screw things up otherwise. Minus 4AC all over 2A. Now, here's what I got to be careful of. I cannot plug this whole thing into the calculator. Okay, I got to do it in pieces. So here in step 3 it says calculate the square root. So I'm just doing this part in the calculator next. So reminder, if we need to remember how to find the square root button, it's second and x squared will get me the square root. So let me pull this up. Second and x squared, there's my square root. I'm going to type this in exactly as I see it. Oops, I lost my last parenthesis. Just a minute there. Okay. Now, I got a whole number this time. That's cool. Here's the thing. That 40 is not under the radical anymore. Whatever answer you get when you do this step is no longer under the radical. And 2 times 4 is 8. So now, I got 2 equations going. And I do want to give you a heads up on a couple of things here, okay? There's 2 ways you can do this plus minus thing and get to the right answer. And there's also a way that you can do this and absolutely get to the wrong answer. So let's focus on the correct here. So notice, when we did plus, when we did minus, that's the difference with these. When I'm putting this in the calculator, I can either put that in parentheses, type it in directly as it is, and get my answer. That works. Remember my parentheses, I can type that in and get my answer. And I'm done. But let's say you're like, I don't know if I'm going to remember to do the parenthesis thing. Here's what you can do as your other option. If you do the negative 12 plus 40 first and hit enter, then divide your answer by 8, I get the same answer. Negative 12 minus 40. Oops, what did I do? Oops, minus 40, Hardy. Negative 52 divided by 8. Okay, I get the same thing. You can only do it all at once if you use the parentheses. Otherwise, do the top first, do the numerator, then hit enter, then divide your answer by that. Other than that, that's about it. I mean, this is literally, you know, plug and chug. Unless, one exception, just one. Make sure the equation is equal to 0. If it's not, fix it so it is 2x squared plus 5x minus 7, not negative 2x. These do not both have x. This has x. This is just a number. We just tuck that number at the end. And other than that, we're back doing the exact same thing. So A, B, C. And we're back to our equation here. So the opposite of B, if that B sometime happens to be negative or minus, we make it positive when we come down here. Plus or minus the square root of B squared, always in parentheses, minus 4 times A times C. Make sure the signs go with you. All over 2A. And as we noted on the first one, this radical right here, this square root, second x squared, exactly as you see it. Don't change a thing. So let's see here. Negative 5 plus or minus 9. Because again, once we're done with that step, the radical's gone. The square root is gone. Now we're going to break it into two pieces. I like to do mine all at once, so I'm going to use the parentheses. Negative 5 plus 9 divided by 4. Negative 5 minus 9 divided by 4. And we're ready to rock and roll. Okay? So that's really, with the quadratic formula, all we're doing. And you're like, why would I even bother doing that? This is a nice option instead of completing the square. If it's just x squared, completing the square is great if I can't factor it. But completing the square when there's a number in front can get nasty. We don't even deal with that in Algebra 1. When you see that in Algebra 2, you'll see what I mean. So that's why the quadratic formula is kind of nice. Now keep these handy. Don't have them go too far. Here we are in the new packet, ready to rock and roll. And I kind of look around and I'm like, okay, Hardy, I mean, there's not really, I don't know, nothing too bad here. Let's play with one just to kind of make sure we're good. So I'm going to deal with number 3 because there's a couple of things I got to deal with. Get my help down here. So first thing, is it equal to 0? Nope. So again, we're trying to get the right side equal to 0. Moving the 88 would not do me any good. That's the key. We got equals 0. Once I'm here, A, B, C, the signs do go with, so pay attention to that. And here we go. So we have got, I'm going to fold it again over here so we can get the formula there. That'll be more useful to us. So the opposite of B, the opposite of negative 10 is positive 10. Plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. We know the drill at this point. Get my calculator out. Exactly as I see it. 10 squared is 4 times 4 times negative 84. Okay, comes out, that's 38. 10 plus or minus 38 over 8. Sometime you may even get a decimal for this part, and that's okay too. We've dealt with that. So 10 plus 38 over 8. And 10 minus 38 over 8. So we got 6. And we got negative 3.5. So 6 and negative 3.5. Okay. So that's basically our practice as far as the quadratic formula goes. But you know me at this point. Especially when there's only one quiz left besides the final. We got to get some review stuff in. And we're going to keep slowly working our way back. And you're like, oh my gosh, Hardy. What the heck? This is like ancient. So remember, here, the rule for this is going to be the same. Okay? When you multiply, multiply the bigs, add the littles, but I'm going to write the word exponent here. So here, as I kind of work you around a little bit, remember, if you don't see exponents on something, there are ones there. So, for instance, on this first one, if I distribute, multiply the bigs, add the littles. Multiply the bigs. There are no other littles to add. I'm just done. Same thing going on here. Now here, there's more to do. So here I look and I'm like, okay, so x times x is x squared. Whoops, hang on, I want to use the same color here. X times 5 is 5x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. I got to make sure everything gets distributed through. And then if there's stuff that's alike for like terms, we can just combine those. 5 minus 4, we're not multiplying anymore. I'll add and subtract. So 5 minus 4 is 1. And I'm good. That's going to be the same rules you used for number 2. Same rules on 2 and 3 and 4, even though it's bigger. And 5, that just means there's 2 of these when it's squared. Pulling all this stuff back into play. And the only difference when you get down to the bottom is, thank goodness we don't have to distribute anymore. Well, how do you know that, Hardy? Because there's a plus or a minus in the middle. Now, notice before there was no symbol, we had to multiply. So whatever that symbol is, that symbol distributes or multiplies through to all the stuff after it. So there was nothing to do on the first part, so I'm just going to recopy it. But on the second part, that negative changes the positive 5x into negative, changes the negative 8x into positive, and changes this positive 2 into negative. And now it's just all pluses and minuses. It's all combining like terms, which means if they have the same variable with the same exponent, I can put them together. 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. 4 plus 8, don't mess with the variables anymore. Still it's just x, not x squared. And then 1 minus 2 is negative 3, and that's as far as I can go. So knock out the rest of this. It's not that much. Again, little things can mean a big difference when we get to these last couple of quizzes and the final exam that's coming up. So give me your best, and we'll do it again tomorrow.